Now, the Department of State Services has granted administrative bail to the president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Joe Ajaero. Now, Ajaero was arrested in the early hours of Monday by the security services at the Lagos airport, at the Abuja airport, and was released late last night. The NLC and the Trade Union Congress had asked the federal government to release Ajaero immediately and unconditionally, latest by midnight. Criticisms had trailed his arrest from the global rights group Amnesty International, as well as the United Action Front of Civil Society. Now, there are speculations that his arrest was not unconnected with his refusal to honor invitations of the police, as well as a petition against him by an airline operator, an alleged petition against him. Well, Arise analyst Dayo Sobowale joins us now to discuss this development and implications for Nigeria's policy. Good afternoon, Mr. Sobowale, and welcome to the program.
It's a pleasure of being here as usual. Right.
Right. Of course, yesterday we were all caught unawares when we heard of news that Joe Ajaero had been taken into the custody of DSS as he was about to embark on a trip overseas. What was your initial reaction when this news got to you?
Given the industrial relations atmosphere, I was not surprised that was done. It's going to be a long hide and seek game between government and Ajaero. And the reason is not far-fetched. They are trying to intimidate labor. This won't be the first time government will do that. They are afraid of the potential of Ajaero as labor leader to mobilize the anger of the public against government. Because the public is angry with government over food and this high price of fuel. You can still see in the release by the NLC, they were still insisting that the price of fuel should be brought down to 617 naira. So, to me, it is an amusing game. It's a political game. They call it warfare in some other places. When you use warfare, when you use the law to intimidate your opponent into submission. So, I'm sure eventually the police will rake out a charge against him. But as of now, you see, an event that happened a year ago is what they have raked up now with an airline, which said it has since settled with him. When he went to Imo and was beaten up the other time, they are raking that up. But it's a political and industrial relations game. And in democracy, people fight for their rights. And government is not yet brave enough to violate its human rights. I don't think they have the guts. Get me? But it is a political game. And it's a dicey one. But thank God we have a very alert human rights community. And the press here is very active. So before our very eyes, it will be very, very difficult to arrest him with impunity. Let's leave it at that for now.
Also, Mr. Sobowale. Now, I'm just wondering how you think this incident might affect the balance of power between the government and organized labor when it comes to ongoing or future negotiations based on this event.
Yes, it will erode trust. And trust is needed for mutually beneficial industrial relations. It has already eroded trust. But then, you see, the rule of law is what will balance it. The government has a right to query somebody or accuse somebody of virtually anything, provided it has proof, and that proof or evidence is brought to a court of law to resolve the matter. The accused must be given the right of his day in court. That is it. But as things stand now, I'm sure government will want Ajaero to be silent. But his job will be at risk. His reputation will be damaged. Because it's labor now that is fighting for the Nigerian masses, whether you like it or not. Remember the other time the president came to Lagos for this rail line opening? He said, that was about the time this crisis, was happening. He said, labor is not the only voice of Nigerians. I smelled a rat then that these labor people had better be careful. But then, the government is rattled by so many things. insecurity, food insecurity, so many things that we all know about. And most importantly, this hike in fuel price that seems to have no solution. And which I say the only solution is to bring down the price. So on that score, I side with NLC, right? And I see the battle between the NLC and government is a democratic battle. If it doesn't happen, we won't have news to talk about now, literally. But I'm sure government will watch its steps. Labour too knows that it has the capacity to protect its own leader. So to me, it's lawfare in action, weaponization of the police to silence a budding political opponent. So.
Now, having said that, I was reading an interesting write-up from Dr. Abati's weekly column, and he wrote it in the form of a conversation that was had. And one of the points that was made there was that the government, like you've rightfully said, are fighting on so many fronts, and they can't fight on every front. And one of the recommendations put in the form of that conversation was that, well, why not just let Joe Ajaero say what he has to say and make the noise he needs to say and just ignore him for now and focus on all other things. What's your take on that? Especially the fact that there are so many fronts that government is fighting on now. Is NLC really a priority?
NLC is a priority, a great priority. That's Labour. That's Labour. If NLC successfully mobilize its people, this government will not last very long. Get me? So it is not in the interest of government to totally silence NLC, because there will be so many voices raised in dissent and in protest. And it is not in its interest to be seen as violating the law, especially with the president of the NLC. So it's a balancing act. Both sides must follow the rule of law, either in attack or defense, or a flight, whichever they want to adopt. Get me? But to me, on the government side, I see it as warfare. No, not lawfare now, using the law to intimidate somebody. Just like in the US, it's not as if it's something strange. Nigerians don't like Trump, but Trump is suffering the same fate, lawfare, with the Biden administration. Get me? But I hope our own will not get.
Picked up by CIA.
There you go.
No. By CIA. How many cases does he have now?
But they don't pick him up when he's traveling.
No, because it's campaigning. It's campaigning. And you see, this is your support for.
It's that show.
But let us face our own lawfare here. You get it? And say it in that light. Yes.
Sobowale, in about 30 seconds, I know you've given us a Western example, but when you look at these interactions with Labour and government, yes, does it remind you of anything you've seen in Nigeria's history when it comes to the interaction that you're seeing between Labour and the government?
Okay, you won't remember.
Maybe not.
Umodu, I was a Labour leader, Umodu. Get me? Pre-independence, we have good luck. Those were eminent trade union leaders who mobilized Nigerians, you get me, against anything they perceive as injurious to the interests of workers. I have good luck and Imodu. Go and find out about it. They are great union leaders. Yes.
Mr. Dayo, thank you so much for this interaction. Of course, we do wish that all of these engagements can continue in an atmosphere of lawfare, like you said, legal and democratic way. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.